Hello and welcome to the North Bank podcast. I'm your host, Holly. I'm joined by Stef this evening. Hello, Stef.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm good. We're going to have a long chat about yesterday's game. We're recording on Sunday evening. Yesterday's game is obviously the Newcastle 1-0. Game 1 of the 5-game shootout is done. It ain't going to be easy, is it? It's not going to be enjoyable, is it? It's funny. And we'll look ahead to Champions League semi-final. Champions League semi-final on Wednesday. Like, that's mental. It's so almost underwhelmed by the fact that we've got a Champions League semi-final on Wednesday. I need to grab a hold of myself, give myself a shake, because that's pretty impressive stuff to be able to say. Only 4 sets of fans in Europe can say that, and we're one of them for the second successive season. But before we get into all that, I've got 3 questions, and I was saying to you before we start recording, I found it difficult to come up with 3 questions this time. That's why there are only 3, not 4. So in no particular order. You can't question their fight, but can you question the tactics? Okay, here's my first question. Question 2, could mental fatigue be our undoing? Now, I'm looking at 2 things there. One, my own personal reaction to yesterday's game and the final whistle. And then when I got home and I saw the players' reaction to the final whistle and they collapsed to the ground. Question 3. Was Newcastle our toughest remaining fixture? And I say this when you think about the talent they have. Okay? So individual talent, not form, but their midfield contained Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes yesterday. Their bench had Harvey Barnes, Voltemada and Elanga. Pretty decent. I looked at their players warming up and I was thinking, normally you look at a visiting team and you think, well, at least their subs are going to weaken their team. And I'm thinking, well, I'm not sure that's going to be the case this time.
No.
But anyway, look, yesterday was difficult. Ultimately, the result was the most important thing and we got that. But it was difficult. How are you feeling 24 hours later?
Confused, wrung out, fraught. A mixture of everything. I've been through everything. We talked about the stages of grief last week after the Man City one. Well, I'm going through some kind of like psychological breakdown.
Existential
crisis. It's not good because I keep wavering on these things, and a bit like what you said about the Champions League semi-final. I'll go through all those sort of negative things. You know, it might be a player that's something, or maybe someone said something online, or even, you know, people I know, like we're messaging or whatever. And then I go, no, but we're top and we're in the Champions League semi-final and it's like, it should be good. Like, why is it not good? It doesn't feel good. Yesterday was very stressful. You saw me at full time. I was bereft.
And please check out our Instagram. There's a couple of images on Instagram of our dear Stef at the final whistle, by the way, not when we'd already won, like the game. We knew we'd won the game.
Yeah. I mean, I just sat down for a bit.
A broken man.
I just needed a moment because I'd been stood and I'd been leaning forward and then leaning back and then biting my nails and then gripping the chair in front and then like giving you a thump when I had some kind of point to make and like, and then once it had finally finished, I just needed to sit down. Everyone, you know, was quite relieved and buoyant at getting the 3 points and the players were doing their clap and I just sat there. And I was just staring into the void for a bit because I was just thinking, I was also thinking as well, I've got to do this 4 more times. And wow, it was weird. It was a weird sort of feeling. And just while I remember, because I'm looking at something in front of me, you're asking these questions. It would be great to hear from other people as well, because again, I'm not 100% sure how I'm processing these things. And I wonder how other people are processing it well. So follow us on all our socials, at NorthBankPod, you'll find us. Join our Patreon, join the chat, where again, it's been a bit quiet. but I think, again, people sort of processing. There was a few good comments today about the women's game. But yeah, I've been through it all.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I meant to lead with the women's game. Sorry, I didn't see it. You watched it, but we're taking
I watched most of it, yeah.
a 2-1 lead against Lyon into the second leg. So
Very good result. Very good result.
Was the
First half was a bit not sure, and Lyon are incredibly dangerous. Great pedigree, some good players. I'm not the most well-informed person on the women's game. Obviously, there's lots of other people that follow it, but reading around the game and scrolling while the game was going on, they even had players on the bench that could come on and do things. But second half, major uplift. Much more intense to our play, and forcing a few decisions and awkward moments for them that resulted in a couple of goals.
Maybe the men could take heed.
Hopefully so.
Perhaps. I mean, look. Back to the Newcastle game, I was looking for a statement performance, and what I got was more about survival. It was very much familiar, no handbrake off at all, which is what got me thinking about the opposition. Defensively they're solid. We do struggle against them. They concede very, very few goals to us generally. It's kind of the way those games go. We do find it difficult to score against them. They concede very few goals at the Emirates as well. And that midfield, Tonali and Guimaraes, that is a borderline world-class midfield pairing there. You'll see this in the summer when you see the list of clubs that are linked to both of those players, where I'd be surprised if both of them were still at Newcastle, because Newcastle aren't qualifying for any European competition. So we're up against that, but I was looking for a statement performance. I was confident. How did you feel when the teams were announced? Because I obviously wanted Rice as the 6, Ødegaard as the 8, and Eze in the middle. And I realised that means you've got to commit to Martinelli / Trossard on one side and Madueke / Dauman on the other, with Saka on the bench, and he was never going to start the game. I would imagine that Arteta was hoping he wouldn't have to get him on, really, because he came on in the 81st minute. So I was disappointed. So my reaction was, well, okay, maybe he's taken leading into what the performance was like against Man City with that lineup, and Eze and Ødegaard on the pitch together, even though Eze's to the left. Maybe I'll see. Let's see how it goes. But it's not what I wanted. It's not what I was looking for. It wasn't a statement. It wasn't a statement team selection. That's how I felt. What did you think? Well, it was your team, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah, I did predict it. I did sort of caveat it with the fact that I wasn't sure it is exactly what I would have done. But I just want to flag up now, I won't be able to talk about my feelings about the lineup without then feeding into my thoughts generally on the performance and the team, because the lineup was kind of as I expected. White coming in for Mosquera, bit more potent going forward, but, and this is where I'm going to link in to talk about the performance as well, White and Madueke don't have the relationship, say, that White and Saka have had in the past. And no one has really had those relationships on either wing this season, because we've had so much disruption due to injury and selection and all of those sorts of things as well. And so I'm sort of a mind, and yesterday convinced me even more, that the lineup for me was as good as possible, because, with Saka's injury aside and Marino's injury aside and all those sorts of things, but as good as possible because it got our best available players on the pitch. So for me, that would be the midfield of Ødegaard, Zubimendi, Rice. I know it's slightly more defensive in mindset, but it meant that Eze could go on the wing, because the moment that you move, say, Zubimendi out, and, as you said, Rice back and Eze in the middle, well, then you're suddenly bringing in someone like Martinelli or Trossard. And for me, they're just not at a level at the moment in order to be able to produce something to sort of make something happen.
Their form is nowhere near.
It's on the floor for me. And so
is Madueke's on the other side.
True, but there's fewer options for alternatives.
Gabby Jesus. Maybe,
yeah. I mean, he had a brief okay cameo. Was it the Southampton game? We lost. So, yeah. For me, it's about trying to get It's just about trying to get the best players on the pitch.
It was a Sporting game.
Was it a Sporting game? Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, him and Trossard came on and did well.
It's just about trying to get our best players onto the pitch, because it's about relationships. And for a whole host of reasons that lots of other people seem to disagree with, the likes of our best players are Eze, Odegaard, Havertz, Zubamendi, Rice as well.
Who disagrees with that?
A lot of the discourse, granted, it's online, so these are not necessarily, a great snapshot of people, and I'm not sure it's shared by Arsenal fans who season ticket holders or go to the home games or even go to the away games as well, because there's a lot of negativity around Odegaard. And this is where I want to bring in this metaphor that I've been ringing through in my head. I think there is a similar kind of thinking that goes into the people who criticise Odegaard as people who are climate change deniers, because climate change deniers, okay, they'll be standing outside and it'll be cold and it'll be raining and they'll go, global warming, yeah, whatever, it's cold and it's raining. If Odegaard misplaces one pass, he's not crap all of a sudden, okay? Players can misplace passes. There is a screenshot going round today which people are using as a stick to beat him with. And granted, in a one-off moment, when we're breaking forward, the sensible pass is absolutely right. In that one moment, he should play to Gyökeres. Okay? He should. Okay? He doesn't. He checks back, he plays it to Zubamendi. All right? But that one moment does not overlook and override the fact that he is our metronome. I don't think it's any coincidence that a slight uptick in performance and control in games has coincided with him returning to the side. Small sample size, I know. But ultimately, you go back to when he, Havertz and Saka were in the team on a regular basis was basically the last time that we were really fluent and doing well. It's no coincidence. I said yesterday, he's the metronome to our team. Eze is the moments player. I don't mind if Eze's kind of in and out of the game.
Yeah, because
he's a moments player.
Yeah.
Because he can finish with the way that he did yesterday, okay?
Yeah.
So this kind of mindset thinking of a player does one bad thing and, oh my God.
It's confirmation bias, isn't it?
It's confirmation bias. And you've got to look at the bigger picture. I was reading a brilliant article today by James Benge where he looked at season-long trends for Arsenal. And one of them is about the fact, and you referenced it a few couple of pods ago because he's been writing about the same stuff. When Madueke, Gyökeres, Martinelli are in the team, our chance creation plummets with them because their floor is just so much lower than the other players above them. Technically, they're at a such lower level. And I did wonder, I look at that Gyökeres moment when Odegaard, yes, and I'll hold my hands up, he probably should have passed to him in that moment. But I also wonder if Odegaard's in that position thinking, I'm not going to pass you here because you've probably got too much to do and you'll just lose it and then we'll lose the ball, so I'm going to check. There's also an element of, you look at the way the defenders are coming across, they're all swarming to Gyökeres because they're all expecting that pass to go that way. I'm not excusing it, because then he checks to Zubamendi and Zubamendi's got space. Zubamendi then fluffs his ball over the top and it's a bit meh. And Gyökeres is just left there pointing at his feet.
Can I ask, I don't know this moment, I can't remember it. Was it before or after the Gyökeres break?
Before.
That was before, okay.
Because here's the other thing. You want some confirmation bias? My confirmation bias about Gyökeres is he's got a simple pass towards the end of the game to beat one Newcastle player, and he's got two players, I think Martinelli and Saka, running in, and he fluffs it. He hits the Newcastle player. I
was angry at the time.
He's at such a low technical level for where we want to be that it's just infuriating.
It's notable. It's notable.
Yeah, and this is the thing. I don't want to get too angry because he's done okay. He's done what he needs to do, but he's not a great technical footballer.
If the other his fellow attackers had done comparable to him, like done what they were supposed to do, we wouldn't be in this situation.
Oh yeah, they're formed for injuries. So, yeah.
It's not because of him we're back to square one in this title.
No.
Not that he's been available as well, which is important. So, no, I think he's had an okay debut season. I'm not on his case. However, there are moments in games, like the Havertz header last week, but if we hadn't won that game, or if we, and this is terrible, but it's unfair, but if we lose the league or lose out on the league by 1 goal, I'm going to look back at he had a simple pass to make, and it was 2 Arsenal players versus the keeper. Now, we may well have screwed that up, but he had once, and he hit it the only place it wasn't going to get through to them. And I just thought that's unacceptable. And I know Arteta did talk about moments not being clinical enough, and I'm pretty sure that was the moment he was referencing in his mind. And I saw it's the only piece of action I've seen again, and I wanted to see it again. I wanted to see it again to see if it was as bad as I felt it was at the time, and it was.
It's bad.
Worse.
It's really bad. And this is why you asked the question about sort of, tactics and whatever. That's not tactics. That's an individual player in an individual moment executing poorly. And we've got a few of those. Zubimendi had that chance where he found himself in the box, which is not really his job, but he kind of mishit it. Madueke was another one that was incredibly frustrating for me. And there was two flows in the game, I suppose. I thought we started quite well. I must say, Newcastle spooked me a little bit because you're not quite sure how they're going to turn up, because essentially their form has been bad and they've got low stakes in the game, essentially. So you were never quite sure what team would turn up. Turns out a team turned up that looked full of running, as the stats kind of proved out. They ran further and they ran faster than us, all told. Not by a huge amount, but noticeably so. From a team with relatively little to play for, it was quite impressive. And like you say, there are players in there, based on their reputation alone and their the muscle memory of their quality would always sort of shine through. Like you say,
they were in a Champions League quarter-final.
Exactly, incredibly good midfield. So they came to play, and they gave us an incredibly tough game. But after a dodgy sort of opening few minutes, I felt we settled then quite well and wrestled the game back in our favour and started to play quite well. It was noticeable then we did generate a few corners, which meant that we were getting the field territory and pushing up the pitch, and we were able to play in their half a bit more. And although we weren't creating open play chances, which is another major problem, by the way, overall, we were getting the set pieces, and we played those set piece routines, which, again, I'm going to refer to it. There was a reaction from people in the crowd, and I've heard it from different people in different places. So a friend of mine sits upper West Stand, Upper West. I had a friend of mine was in the clock end, and they said people around them are doing that classic thing. We get the first corner, go short, and all the certain kinds of people, shall I say, the climate deniers, were going, get it in a box, get it in a box, without stopping for a moment and just giving a little bit of thought to why we might not be putting it in the box. Because Newcastle are massive. They've probably been training all week. What have Arsenal done all season? Put it in the box. Literally, we've now officially scored the most goals from set-piece corners in a league season.
17.
17.
Do you want a follow-up stat to that?
Do it.
13 of those have put us 1-0 up.
Yep, because those fine margins, they make the difference, don't they? But anyway, so we do one. People going, get it in that box. But Arsenal have obviously gone, well, no, we'll counter that. Also, those same people saying put it in the box. When was the last time we scored? Putting it in the box. It's been a little while. So we were taking it short and playing that routine. Well, it's the third one. Ball. Odegaard makes the dummy run, drags the Newcastle player out. Ball fizzed into Havertz. Perfect control. Lays it off to Eze, who sweeps it into the top corner. Clearly well thought out, clearly well worked, okay? We've got to trust this team to be doing some things right, and that was one of them. Havertz's technical ability to be able to do that, and you'd never know quite what Gyökeres would be doing in that situation, but Gyökeres is with the centre-backs in the middle. He's a different kind of player. So Havertz is able to draw that in at that moment. But again, it's the thinking of certain Arsenal fans around us just going, well, we need to just play a simple ball and blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, yes, there are times to do that. But anyway, while Havertz was on the pitch, we were able to do that. Once Havertz went off, again, chance creation, even from corners, like just went, like there was nothing in that spell after that. And it had started to dip a bit before Havertz went off.
I don't think it was, I don't think it had anything to do with Havertz.
Do you know
I agree with everything you just said then, like completely. And there was a guy in front of us who was very vociferous in his complaints about Arsenal taking it short.
He was apoplectic.
But
7 minutes in, by the way.
Yeah,
we were 7 minutes in. He had another 83 minutes to go.
But it was obvious it was obvious to me why we were doing that. It made complete sense because we're not going to win again. That when you're in row 5 and you see those Newcastle players standing on the pitch 5 yards in front of you,
Botman,
they are giants.
God.
Okay, I'm 5'7". They're going to, you don't have to be big to be giant, but they are giant. I'd come up to their elbows. So it made complete sense. And absolutely trust that. Absolutely trust that Arsenal know what they're doing in those moments.
The second point I was going to make was that the second flow part of the game shifted, sadly, when Madueke came off and was replaced by Saka. Because ultimately it showed Madueke does a lot of faffing about on the wing. And you expect, all right, he was brought in kind of as cover for Saka, but do some of the basics, like taking 10 touches when Saka comes on. And I remember his first action in the game was to get the ball, corner of the penalty area. He controlled it, had a look. He did a little touch inside, played the cross. It nicked off a Newcastle player. We got a corner. He is ruthlessly efficient. And Madueke is carelessly inefficient. Do you know what I mean? And it might only be 1% or 2% here. It's only a couple of touches either way.
You could say ruthlessly inefficient.
Fine, yeah. But and it's a couple of touches here either way. It's a couple of hundredths of a second processing speed, but it's massive in terms of how you defend it. Because up until that point, I think the Newcastle defender was quite comfortable. And once Saka came on, all of a sudden we had a bit more impetus, a bit more control. It was noticeable. And it's for me, it's notable, like we said with Gyökeres. Yeah, Madueke, Gyökeres, Martinelli.
They unless it's injury enforced,
we need our best players on the pitch as much as possible.
They can't be on this pitch at the same time. They've each got their own.
Definitely not at the same time.
No, not at the same time. On the match stats, we had 45% possession to Newcastle's 55%, and I think that, for me, in the first half, we lost midfield. Now, I know Newcastle have a very good midfield, and at one point we had Ødegaard and Rice in the two centre-back positions. The centre-backs out. Well, I'm like, too many cooks, because if Ødegaard and Rice are there, where's the support and the connection with your attack? It's non-existent. The gaps are too big.
Do you think they were trying to basically bypass Newcastle's midfield by either just drawing them back or just pushing everything wide?
Maybe, but then you've got Madueke and Eze Eze's not touching the touchline, is he? He's not hugging the touchline, so he's coming in. But so for me, again, it was like, I'll take it. Confirmation bias. I was looking for a good performance, and I wouldn't have picked. I thought if Rice, I don't think you needed both Rice and Zubimendi. And Zubimendi started really poorly, and I know you weren't particularly enamoured by Rice in the game, and you would have taken him off instead of Zubimendi. But I think that's just because of the confusion about the two places.
Fine.
But like we will not know that. We had 11 shots to their 13. 4 of ours were on target, 3 of theirs. But they created 2 big chances to our 0 big chances. And this is one of my startup questions was, could mental fatigue be our undoing? There was no difference in that performance than in the performance against, say, Everton or what other games have you? No. What other games have we won 1-0? Yeah, so the Bournemouth game. No, so you're right. The Bournemouth game, even the City game last weekend, we just happened to fall on the right side of the fine margins yesterday.
Yep.
Because if Osasuna hadn't tackled himself in like the second or third minute, that could have been a goal. Wissa, that was a terrible miss. I'm assuming they're the two big chances that they created and they should have done a lot better with, because
I think so.
Our XG was 0.64. That's our second lowest home XG this season, behind Liverpool 0-0. And Newcastle's XG was 0.91. We had 7 corners to their 2. We had 27 touches in their box. They had 20 in ours. A draw would have been a fair result on the match stats, and you couldn't have argued it. But when you create so little, and we've been doing it all season, and yet we haven't had our best players available at the same time all season. So maybe you cannot divorce those two facts, if you like. But I think Arteta could have set the team up to. I think Arteta, the way he set the team up, it was just that familiarity again. It was the same thing. And what's that? Insanity. So we fell on the right side of the fine margins yesterday. But my overriding feeling was that if we do that in our remaining 4 games, we will not win them all.
No, because chance tells you that we will fall on the wrong side.
Yeah.
At some point, yes.
So and I know someone will shout at me that in the corresponding fixtures earlier on in the season, we won these 5 games with similar personnel on show, perhaps. I mean, fine, but I can only judge what I'm seeing since the 1st of January, 2026.
Yeah.
It's been pretty much the same as this.
And I would argue as well, at the start of the season, what was our superpower was our defence. And even, we're doing well, don't get me wrong, clean sheet, albeit, maybe more by luck than judgment. But even, there's a little bit of a drop off there. And I think with Timber out of the side, and although Nkapie is doing very well at left back last couple of games, sure. But, even that's not quite at its level. The screen in front of them is not quite at that level. Zubamendi, brilliant first half of the season. He has tailed off. A lot of that will be physical and mental,
it's
drain
the most
on him.
minutes he's ever played in a season.
In a season, exactly. So that's understandable. I thought his game yesterday was interesting because the first action that Newcastle had venturing into our half, in the first couple of minutes was, he reacted poorly. He was kind of beaten to a ball by the onrushing midfielder, who I can't remember who it was. And then when he's finally sort of half wrestled back possession, he knocks a ball inside kind of blindly, trying to play someone in, and then is essentially just given the ball away. So it was a very nervy and not very effective start. I did feel like he recovered, because then he became a kind of interception monster and was starting to win his duels and recovered a lot, which is what I didn't see from Rice. And for all his, and I hate to say this, and I say this with Oliver, I love all of Arsenal's players. I do. I really like them. And our criticism of them is not because we don't want them to do well or we have agendas against them. It's because we know it's crunch time of the season, and we're expectant and we're sort of hopeful and we're passionate, and so anything negative we say is because we would love them to be doing better, and we've got to make sure it happens. So all that stuff about Gyökeres or whoever is fine, but Rice is another one. I do feel like sometimes Rice escapes it because he's such a great character and leader and personality. I've actually been a bit annoyed by some of his gesticulating last couple of weeks, whereas his performances have been just okay. And I thought yesterday was arguably one of his most anonymous performances. A couple of good free corner kick deliveries is not.
But
again, enough.
That might be because of the team setup.
Well, it could be team setup. It could be the opposition, like you say. He's up against one of the more dangerous midfields. All right, people will look at Newcastle's league position and maybe roll their eyes, but it's still a good Newcastle side that have had the distraction of Champions League and clearly not coped with it amazingly. They've lost a bag full of goals in Isak, who they sold in the summer, which probably explains a lot of the drop off. But it's still an excellent midfield, and Rice was just made to and he's knackered as well. He's clearly also carried the team a lot at different times. But like you say, when you're in a 5-game shootout and your manager is saying it's a new season, Well, we're judging it on a new season. And after game one, how similar is that to the Man United game at the start of the season? A scabby 1-0 win from a set piece.
Yeah,
the more things change.
Which, 4 more of those and it might well be enough. I mean, it would only take Man City to win their 5 games by more than 1 goal in one of them to clinch it. We'll see.
You know how I said I've been sort of flip-flopping emotionally?
Yeah.
There has been a bit of a backlash to how our game was reported. And don't get me wrong, we were really stressful and we've said a lot of critical things in this discussion. But then it's amazing the kind of reaction when Man City only beat Burnley 1-0. But caveat, and I know not caveat, the challenge you're going to come up with is, boy, did they create the chances to warrant it.
Their XG was...
it was like it was like 3 something. Yeah, exactly.
3.5.
So this is the difference, isn't it? It's about the eye test after that. It's about what you see the team doing.
It's knowing, because we've experienced it, that we won't get away with it every game.
Yeah. Whereas if you're creating chances that say you should get about 2 or 3 goals a game, well, more often than not.
And one of the games you could end up having a purple patch and hitting 4 or 5.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, we don't look like doing that.
I like the question as to whether Newcastle were our toughest remaining opponent, and if you just talk about names, then they were, and that's not to denigrate the next opposition we've got. Fulham are probably the more in form of the remaining teams that we've had. West Ham are probably the toughest fighters in the remaining...
Toughest context, yeah.
Massive. And then it's only when you get to Burnley home and Palace away that you get into the teams that will not have anything to play for at that point in time.
Yeah.
So they'll either be on the beach or so relaxed they play blinders. Final hurrah in the Premier League for Burnley.
And Palace, the Conference League is before?
No, the Conference League is after. The Europa League is before.
Europa League is before.
3 days after the final game is the Conference League, I think. Because
I found out who Palace have got in the Conference League.
Who's that?
Shakhtar Donetsk.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they've got pedigree. I don't know what their team is like at the minute.
Yeah, I wouldn't know that. Because at half-time, me and you had quite an interesting kind of dawning, if you like, because we both felt in the ground that we'd done okay. But online, and like Gunnerblog and Arsblog online, we're pretty relieved that we got to half-time leading, hadn't played well, pretty damning on the kind of familiarity of the sterile possession and the tentative, nervous nature. I was like, okay, didn't see that. But then that's how their second half played out until the last 15, 20 minutes.
Very much that.
Yeah, until Saka came on 81 minutes, when I think we had more belief as a team, but as a fan base. Also, the referee played his role in that, because he made some pretty dodgy decisions. However, I must admit, I'm going to annoy you now.
No, you're not.
Am I not? Okay, because I don't think...
agree.
Yeah, at the time, I thought it was a nailed-on red cards for Pope, but as I was walking away from the ground, someone behind me was chatting to their friend. They were saying, yeah, but it was... referee probably looked and thought, well, it's Gyökeres, so it's not a goal-scoring opportunity.
Well, yes.
I was an Arsenal fan. There were two Arsenal fans chatting.
True.
But,
one thing I didn't factor in, which was a topic for discussion on the bus back to Norfolk, was about how... because I kept talking about how I basically was just trying to rationalise why they might have ruled it out. And I was talking about covering defender. And then someone pointed out to me, and they said, okay, but... maybe say Pope is an outfield player, there's a goalkeeper covering it who has to shoot against. So actually the covering defender thing doesn't really matter in that. But
Arsblog said the same thing in his blog this morning. He said, like, well, what different? Why does a goalkeeper get special dispensation there?
Yeah.
There was one player behind him. It just wasn't a goalkeeper. But if it was a goalkeeper, it's a
goalkeeper
red card.
can use his hands, do even more to save it.
So Arsblog did say that. But I was just going back to how we felt at half time, and then how people online, respected observers online, were a lot more negative. And Chris, also shared that view online, and
What
then
did
I
he
looked
say?
at the. And well, no, he said about at half time. He messaged in the group. He was messaging us, and he was like, "Oh, this isn't good." And we were like, "Oh, it's all right." I thought, but then the statistics, Newcastle created 9 chances, had nine attempts on goal in the first half. We had 3. So I don't know what me and you were watching.
No.
Because they were right, on that. I don't know. Maybe I was just relieved to be going in 1-0 up. But it's that goal on 10 minutes. I really thought, or 9 minutes. I really thought we'd kick on from that, but it didn't happen, and that's my frustration, because that's familiar. What wasn't familiar was scoring after 9 minutes, and I thought, oh, this is different. Okay. I'll park my reservations about the team selection. Arteta knows more than I do. We're doing this, and the second goal never arrived, and so I think that's the fear, isn't it?
So just on the second goal thing as well, because you're going to talk about kind of mental fatigue and this, that, and the other, and it's starting to annoy me because there's control in the games, but we never really had it, and I'm just thinking of. The way the players especially reacted at the end, I just think a handbrake off approach will make such a difference to the team, because what and this is probably what's cost us most of the season, is not getting that second goal and then that third goal and being able to coast in games. I feel like this is a broken record.
Wouldn't the players enjoy it a lot more?
Yeah.
Those players their reaction at the final whistle, that wasn't enjoyment.
No.
That was, I've given everything.
And this is the thing, because then the knock-on is then to Wednesday when we're talking about the Atletico Madrid game, because ultimately, mental fatigue. We're going to have a big inquiry, I'm sure, in the off-season about our injuries and our fatigue and this, that and the other. Well, it's because you're not killing off games early and being able to make confident changes and comfortable changes, and you're just coasting a game out, rather than having to stay switched on and competing and competitive and intense right in to deep in, 97 minutes of injury time, that no wonder that's going to knacker you out completely.
We're just watching it.
And just watching it,
and
it makes us feel like that. I imagine other players feel like in it as well. So there is an element of it. Now, it's easy to say that, and the opposition always have a sort of factor into it. But like you say, we're not even really, it doesn't feel like we're really even trying to get into that position.
Well, we're not creating, and that's my problem. That's my issue with that team selection, which I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I trust the players that would be playing in that system. And yeah, okay, it works yesterday, but it didn't work against Bournemouth. It didn't work against City.
Yeah.
It didn't work against Wolves. It didn't work against Brentford. That's just in the last 7 weeks. Didn't work against City in the cup final. So it's like, it hasn't worked a lot, and we cannot afford for it to not work one more time.
Not really.
We just can't, I'll just go to what Chris has said. Oh no, he's done our. Okay, well let's do that then. We've forgotten in the recent pods to do our kind of man of the match, player impressed, positive takeaway, etc. So let's do that for yesterday. Let's revisit that little segment that we used to do. So who was your man of the match?
Zubimendi. I thought his recovery. He had a dodgy opening sort of couple of minutes, lost one duel and then misplaced the pass. But then after that, interceptions, tackles, progressive passing, found himself in the penalty box, albeit slightly ineffectively. I thought it was good.
Okay, Chris's man of the match is Eza. Despite only completing half the game, scored a cracker and showed flashes of brilliance. Stef sums it up perfectly. If Odegaard is our metronome, Eza is the moment's player. My man of the match was Nkapie. I thought he was just relentless. I thought he was brilliant. I thought he actually won that header at the very last action of the game, the free kick. He's like, he was always going to get on that. He's that player. And again, he's the winner. He's an invincible. He knows what it takes. and he was in the forwards, like he was bombing up and down that touchline for 90 minutes. So he's my man of the match. Who impressed you?
Nkapie. We've bought a player who, and this is the thing that's disappointing me about Madueke at the moment, because there's and Gyökeres. Nkapie, you don't worry about his floor. You know, I think he's a player that's going to be a 7 out of 10 every game, no matter what. And I think he's been excellent the last few couple of games.
I bemoaned the fact that he had a song before he'd even played. He's earned his song now.
But David Raya hasn't. Right, listeners, followers, David Raya needs a chant before the end of the season. Come on, someone.
Because Stef is doing his best. He came up with a couple of options.
They're not good. They're cheesy. They're naff. I don't like them. But, yeah, we'll see.
Okay, and Chris's player who impressed, Nkapie, just solid. Mine, I did Saka, just because it was... the stadium felt different.
Yep.
As soon as he had that first action.
Yep.
Not when he came on. I mean, he got a rousing reception when he came on. Of course he did. But that first action when he just took the ball, one touch, fainted one way, back onto his left, and his shot was like aimed for the far corner, and I don't know, Dan Burns' big size 18 boot got on the end of it or something. Someone nudged it, deflected it back behind for a corner, and that was just like, it was just that efficiency again, like you've mentioned. So I put Saka.
Well, a bit like I said with the knuckle-headed thinking about Odegaard within our own fan base. There's a lot of knuckle-headed thinking about Saka outside of our fan base who very much look down on him. And this is, England's Player of the Year last couple of years, and it is just an excellent player. His win percentage for Arsenal when he's in the team compared to when he's out is stark. It's noticeable. He makes us a better team. He's there with Odegaard as well, because technically able to just make the ball stick. Sometimes, he can feel maybe a little bit slow in his build-up, but he just doesn't lose the ball simply. He's so strong. Someone was describing Nkapie as well, that in his defensive thing, it feels like he's not putting in much effort, but he'll just move a player off their legs, kind of thing. He's just got this kind of solid core, Nkapie and Saka as well, that just gives you a kind of assurance and assuredness with the ball and without the ball as well. So he's so important, like, to the next few games. Massive.
Well, Saka's a star boy, so it's because he's got that moniker because he has moments of like just pure genius with the ball, like out of nothing, and he's clinical.
And in a way,
with it.
I hope people outside of our fan base keep looking down on him, so that they don't come a knocking for him, because I want to keep him. He's so important.
What I liked about his little cameo is that in that little cameo he did more than he did in the cup final, which was his last game. And I think I'm just hoping that he's clear of that Achilles injury now.
Yeah, hopefully. Because he's got bloody World Cup coming up as well.
Who's got your poor performance award?
Victor Gyökeres.
Yeah.
Sorry, that pass.
Yeah. That for that pass alone.
He's crap.
Yeah. For Chris, he said Martinelli. Poor touches, poor decisions. Honourable mention for Big Vic, whose fluff pass to send Saka clean through could have been better executed by my aunt. I put Noni and Yok together, but it's no surprise. Same explanation every week. For Noni, more recently, what's your positive takeaway? Is the obvious one.
3 points.
Yeah,
that's it. That's all we got.
Yeah,
the crowd were good yesterday.
They were, yeah. And do you know what really helped is the referee became a lightning rod.
Yeah, that's his second half. A couple of decisions that helped spark injustice and unite us all.
Yeah, and that worked, and it works because the crowd were baying for everything after that, which was good. For Chris, one ugly again, but it feels as if we've used all our trump cards for ugly wins. With goal difference potentially vital, it's time for a pretty win with plenty of goals. And yeah, my positive takeaway was the win.
Someone a bit randomly, but in the gents afterwards,
As you do.
in the way people are still talking about it.
This is not that kind of podcast.
But it was someone who was in the gents literally just after the game, and said the line which I thought was quite good. If it's going down to goals scored, we might as well have won 3-2 as 1-0.
No, I said that to you before.
Did you?
We left. I said we'd be better off winning this game 3-2 than 1-0 because the goal scored. But we're never going to. I mean, we beat Bournemouth away 3-2 earlier on this season, I suppose. But yeah, right. So I think anything else to say about the Newcastle game?
No.
I mean,
I think I've said everything I want.
The performance and the energy levels will feed into Wednesday because we've got a very, very difficult game in the, what's it called, the Metropolitana Stadium.
Wanda Metropolitana.
There you go. Atletico Madrid beat Bilbao 3-2 at home yesterday. Alvarez didn't play the entire game. Oh, I was going to say that Man City players have got 3 days off before their next league game, which isn't till Monday, away at Everton. So just for comparison in terms of energy levels. Now, I know Pep would much rather be playing on Wednesday this week than having 3 days off, but nonetheless, they've got those 3 days off. I can't remember who scored. What's his name? Sorloth got 2, and someone else, Griezmann, got the first one. Barrios, their kind of midfield. I don't know what kind of player he is, but he went off injured and he's definitely out of both our games. So they've had at least one injury issue. They're fourth. They're on 60 points. They're 10 points clear of fifth. They're not going anywhere. They've kind of qualified for the Champions League again. So this is everything they've got. Now, we did beat them earlier in the season.
Not playing that game again. We did that with PSG last year.
We did. Same stage as well. How are you feeling about Wednesday then?
Yeah, I mean, because it's the first leg, fine. It will be what it'll be. They're a bit handbrake off. You know, they've had lots of games, lots of goals. They've conceded quite a few. Getafe, I had a look at the table earlier. A team like Getafe have conceded fewer goals in the league than Atletico Madrid, and this is Simeone's Madrid. So I don't think they're quite the team. I remember playing them in the Europa League a few years ago, 2018, I want to say. Boy, were they impressive then. Oblak in goal was best goalkeeper performance I think I've ever seen live. They were incredible, and then Griezmann broke our hearts late on with the equaliser, because if we were going there with 1-0, maybe have a chance. As soon as they scored, because it was away goals, then I was like, no, done, because they just weren't going to concede. You just knew they weren't going to concede. Whereas this team, it does feel a bit different. They've got individual players who can do some great things, and they're still incredibly hardworking. And their crowd will be incredibly vociferous in their support. Disappointed I'm not going, obviously, but I think it'll be a tight affair, as it's plain to be with us.
Yeah, they've got Griezmann, Alvarez, and Lookman as their attacking.
That's tidy, isn't it?
Yeah, that's pretty good. It's dangerous. Chris's preview, as with Sporting, not feeling nerves about this, not wishing to jinx it, but it's not a must-win, so pressure is not as intense. We've already spanked them in the Champions League, and our form in this competition is pretty impressive. So this is a difficult one for me to process. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I don't want to,
because you've got the aftertaste of Newcastle.
What I don't want to happen is Wednesday to impact Saturday, the Fulham game. So it's difficult. It's like, look, we're in the semi-final. I want us desperately to get through to the final because it'll give everyone a shot in the arm. But if you're asking me which is the more important game, Atletico Madrid away on Wednesday or Fulham home on Saturday, I'm afraid I'm going Fulham home on Saturday, knowing that Arteta or the players won't view it like that. It'll be the next game's the important one.
Yeah.
But right, who's in your? Go on. Sorry.
Oh well, I was just going to say about the other feeling that I had was I was much more positive after our defeat away
Yeah.
to City than I
I've seen
was
it.
after our victory at home to Newcastle.
I've seen quite a few people
This is what
pose
Arsenal
that.
is doing to us. What is going on? Doesn't
Look,
make sense.
the good news is that we will remember none of this during the victory parade.
Yeah, we'll go, no, what we like. Yeah. But the thing that haunts me, you said you don't want Wednesday to impact Saturday. Well, I'm already worrying that yesterday is impacting Wednesday because, like
Yes,
you say,
no, but
players
absolutely,
on
that's
their
it.
haunches at the end of the game because we just couldn't and didn't feel like we were trying. I mean, we were obviously trying. I'm being facetious, but like something wasn't clicking in order for us to get that volume of chances.
Yeah, it's for me the effort's never. The only game I've looked at where I've questioned the effort was the Bournemouth game. There was just no urgency,
Very
or
flat,
the energy.
wasn't it? Yeah.
But no, I know it. No questioning the effort yesterday. I mean, that's why they were on their knees.
And I'll say, because it probably should go on record, and I know if there'll be people who are the Victor Gyökeres, apologist society who have already tuned out, but that's the thing. I'm annoyed by some of the technical level of his play and the execution of certain aspects of his game. Cannot fault his effort. He works his arse off, and he's got a big one, that's for sure, to work off. So he is working his arse off in the game. Madueke's working hard. He's improved on his off-the-ball work noticeably as the season has gone on. A few lapses here and there. But, and the whole team, this is the thing, this team will be defined, and this is the brilliant thing about Arteta, by the standards, as we talk about, being set at a high level. And that's just effort and work rate. What's frustrating is, like you say, just the execution of whatever it is that we're trying to do. Anyway.
Or the tactics, indeed.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your team then?
Raya in goal, obviously. I've gone Mosquera. I've gone back with him. Saliba, Gabriel, and Nkapie. I want a slightly more defensive-looking defense. It's the first leg. We don't have to go out and be crazy with this one. A bit more control. FC will be fine. They'll come at us. Similar approach to Sporting, but Atletico Madrid, no disrespect to Sporting, but they're better. Midfield three, I have gone Odegaard, Zubimendi, Rice. Fine with that. Bit more defensive in its approach. Front three's tricky. I'm expecting Havertz not to be fit.
Okay, so the latest I've heard, Hand of Arsenal put out a tweet earlier on this evening, and he said that the mood music is a lot more positive about Havertz. No timeline as such, but it's not anywhere near as bad as they originally feared. But that tells me he's not in the squad for Wednesday.
And because it's the first leg, I wouldn't start Saka. I don't think you need to. You can ease him in a bit more. It's fine.
He only had what? Well, okay, he had 9 and 7. He had 16 minutes,
but
not a lot.
It's not a lot. So Madueke, Gyökeres. Now, because it's Madueke and Gyökeres, you know where I'm going with this. I mean, it's got to be Eze, right? It's got to be Eze.
I don't think he'll risk him because he went off injured as well.
Yeah, so therefore it'd be Trossard for me.
Yeah.
Martinelli, no. Just I've been spooked by James Ben's brilliant article on CBS about the drop-off in chance creation when those three are on. So Trossard.
So Chris has gone Raya, White, Saliba, Gabriel, Nkapie, Zubimendi, Rice, Odegaard, and he has gone Saka, Havertz in brackets, please, and Eze. Yeah, I mean, injury will. If Havertz hadn't gone off injured, then yeah, of course, he'd start every game for the remainder of the season, probably. But he did go off. So
his body's just not.
No,
holding up, is it?
He'd looked upset going off as well, and he went straight down the tunnel. So it didn't look good. So I was surprised.
Oh, sorry. Go on. No,
I was surprised when Arteta said in his post-match presser that that they could both be available for Wednesday.
I wish I had a source for it, but I did read somewhere about because we noticed it at the time that Zubimendi went straight down the tunnel when he came off, and apparently he's had an illness.
He has, yeah. Saw that. Yeah.
Not necessarily injury as such, but certainly illness. So, yeah, it's one of them.
I've gone for Ryan goal. I've done likewise with you across the back. Mosquera, Saliba, Gabriel, Nkapie. My midfield three: Rice, Mendy, and Erdegaard. And I've gone Madueke, Gyökeres, and Trossard as well. That should be enough not to lose the game.
Gyökeres' pass, or lack of, annoyed me so much. I toyed with the idea of Gabriel Jesus. Or even Trossard as a false nine. But
we'd like to have some threat.
Yeah, Gyökeres. I mean, look, he handles himself and he runs and runs and he tries and he tries. But
in theory, he might have more space in this game than.
Well, this is the thing, that. But then he drew quite a blank against Sporting, his old club, who he should know how to get the better of. So I don't know. It's hard because he's so likeable and he's clearly putting in the effort, but. It's like, look, we're both teachers, right? And one of the first lessons I learned as a very inexperienced teacher was I was running some after-school revision sessions and, there were kids coming along and, they were kind of those borderline kids. Would they pass? Would they not? And it was really good to see them sort of making the effort. So then my head of department comes over and goes, oh, what about this student? Are they going to pass? And I've said, look, they've been coming to the after-school revision sessions. Yeah, they're going to pass. Of course they are. They've been putting in the effort. They've been using their time and they've, been showing willing and yeah, they're going to pass. Did they pass? No, they did not, because their ability was capped at a certain level. No matter, it was one of those, it made me realise, yeah, for some kids, unfortunately, no matter how much they try,
yeah,
it might be beyond them. That would be me, by the way, in science and maths. I'm just going to hold my hand up there. We've all got our own skills and pluses.
I'm brilliant at everything, mate.
And I look at Gyökeres and I just think, okay. And then people say, oh yeah, but the team needs to be set up for him. And it's like, well, hang on, we've got up to this level without him. We're going to change all of that for this. Is he that good? Not for me. Because the other thing is as well, what chances could he have got onto if he was just that little bit quicker? Or that little bit more technically proficient with the ball.
The
Makes
anticipation as well.
He doesn't anticipate. No, he wants to just run onto a ball that's there for him on a plate. Well, if you can only get onto things that are there for you on a plate, make the team,
Yeah, dictate to the team where to play the ball. Like Henry, it didn't matter which midfielder, whether it was Vieira or Bergkamp or Freddie, they'd all look for him and they'd play the ball and they'd expect him to be on the end of it.
Yeah.
Because he was that. They knew they could count and
Isn't
rely
there
on.
a story that Henry tells about when he first joined Arsenal and Wenger had to pull him aside?
Well, he complained he was getting cross about players
not getting service.
Not passing to him, and Wenger said that's a you problem.
Yeah.
You need to understand what kind of ball Vieira plays because it's different to the kind of ball that Bergkamp will play. It's different to the kind of ball that Freddie will play. You know who's got the ball. You'll know how they're going to attempt to release you. So you make that run.
Yeah,
that's an intelligent footballer, and an intelligent, like a footballing brain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. I mean, we're talking about Henry, one of the great strikers the world's ever seen.
Yeah,
so
probably
it's a bit hard to compare anybody to him, really. What's your scoreline?
1-1.
Really? We've got a full house of 1-1s.
Have we really?
Yeah, Chris is 1-1 and I've written 1-1.
Okay, fine.
I had written down 0-1 and then 1-0 and then I crossed both those and I wrote 1-1. I thought, there you go.
My worry is, looking at what some of Atletico Madrid have been doing, their games have featured quite a few goals. They've been involved in quite a high scoring encounters. And my worry is if they score 2, I don't see us scoring 2.
Because we don't create the chances.
Because I don't feel like we create the chances. So unless it turns into one of those European games where we are able to play a completely different way because psychologically we just approach it differently, I don't know. But yeah, don't see where a second goal comes from at the minute, unfortunately. We're top of the league in the Champions League semi-final. This is what I mean. I'm
knackered.
How do I do it? I'm so wrung out and fraught.
I'm exhausted. Oh. And we're supposed to be cheering people up, Steph.
Well, the other thing is as well, and the problem is I keep finding myself just being contrary to everyone because, again, Arsenal fans, we could fall out in a phone box. I don't know. I was trying to reach for some kind of
there
metaphor.
is I don't know what that is.
But we could basically start an argument in a vacuum and fall out. And so there are camps of people now. Some are being overly critical because basically we're all from the same place. We care and we want to get over the line, and it's very stressful. It's the fear. And then there are other people who are pushing like almost toxic positivity. And I'm just thinking, I don't know if I've been so wrung out of the stress of the games unfolding. I don't know where you would find the energy to be toxically positive. I haven't got it in me. But I am Eeyore, so probably bad coming from me.
But like I've said a few times, you and Chris make me a positive fan, because
and I'm hoping
like
I make some of our listeners my negativity. If it makes you feel better about yourself, you're welcome.
I have to rail against your Eeyore-ness.
Rage against the dying of the light.
There you go. Do not go gentle.
Do not go gentle.
I'm going to get that tattooed. I love it. That's one of my favourite quotes, that is. Look it up, Dylan Thomas. Folks, bit of English for you.
Oh, God. We should start another podcast.
Yeah. Maybe not.
English teacher. Yeah, maybe not.
This is hard enough. On that self-deprecating note, shall we say goodbye to our dear listeners and viewers and put them and us out of our collective misery for the time being? We will be back on Wednesday for an instant reaction. And till then, look, enjoy the next couple of days, touch some grass, as they say, and we'll see you back again at kick-off time for the Champions League semi-final.
Please leave a rating or review wherever you listen. It really helps the pod, and see you Champions League semi-final. Let's do this.
Cheerio.
Bye.
Cheerio. Bye-bye.
The North Bank, an Arsenal podcast. Subscribe, rate and review on your app, and find us on your socials at North Bank Pod. Email hello@thenorthbankafc.com and check out our website, thenorthbankafc.com. Produced by the Podcast Company.